Good afternoon, everybody. It's a dog with you on a Monday, the 25th of March, 2019. Don't fret, my friends, because we're talking 60s in a couple of days, back-to-back, I believe, so we're excited. Well, I'm excited to have my friends from Seneca Meadows joining us today, Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin, who have graced this show many times. But today we're going to do a little different twist. We're going to talk about Seneca Meadows, but we're also going to talk to an individual named Ben Zimmerman. He's the branch manager of Applied Ecological Services, talking about preservation of many, many acres out there. It started way back in 2007. It's a Monday. It's time for Weber This Week. Well, I hope you're doing well on a Monday. Good to be with you. Coming up on April. My fingers are crossed. Yeah, it's hard to believe. Another week and we'll be into the month of April. Time flies when you're having fun. Well, you know, it's certainly well known that I've had Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin on my show several times. They're a great sponsor, I might add, as well. But they've been on talking about different issues in regards to Seneca Meadows. But today we're going to kind of zero in on one aspect of what Seneca Meadows really does and what they mean and what they try to do to help out the area. And one thing that they did do is in 2007, and I think I'm going to turn this over to my friend Kyle Black. Kyle, you then decided, you and your company decided that you needed to do something maybe to preserve a lot of land out there and nearby, obviously for you, to protect the birds and the different species and environment. Talk a little bit about the thought process of getting Ben and his company involved.
Absolutely, and thanks again for having us, Harold. Always enjoy coming on the show.
Thanks.
To to educate the community as to what Seneca Meadows really is, and we're much more than just the landfill. So, as you noted, back in 2007, we embarked upon a journey. Within our footprint, we had 71 acres of very low quality wetlands that needed to be remediated. The standard remediation for that, when you go to the quote unquote rule book, is 3-to-1. We knew we had to do something more than that. We had this property we owned over on Blackbrook Road, the Dove Farm, which at one time we had actually proposed for a landfill site, and the community spoke loud and clear and said no. So we kind of went back to the drawing board and said what would be a great use for this that the community could get out of it, other than a landfill and an operating and some farming going on. So we went back to the drawing board and we came up with a 576 acre remediation of that farm to convert it back to a wetland complex that once completed, we could then share with the community and share with the nature lovers and all of the resources that it would bring. So we embarked upon this path. We hired Applied Ecological Services, one of the foremost leaders in environmental rehabilitation and wetland rehabilitation, not just in the country but in the world. We brought the strongest player to the table. They then created this awesome project, and again, I'll let Ben talk a little more in detail about it here down the road, that went through 5 years of environmental scrutiny through the DEC, through the Environmental Protection Agency, through the Corps of Engineers, through every regulatory arm you could think of, to ensure that the habitat that we were taking, we were more than offsetting and creating.
Very good. And Ben Zimmerman is my special guest, along with Kyle and Mark Benjamin. He's branch manager of Applied Ecological Services. So, Ben, a little bit about your company. Your main office is located in Wisconsin, the main headquarters?
It is, yeah. The company is based in south central Wisconsin. That's where the roots grew down. Started out with a nursery operation with the intent to provide material to do a mine reclamation. So it's kind of where the inception of the company was from.
So when you got word that your company was being hired to do what Kyle has laid out in his opening remarks, obviously you do many projects. What was your thought process of doing this, and how many people got involved? And let's talk about how the planning went.
Sure. So actually probably some of the planning was occurring while I was still in college. So I might not know all the details, but for me personally, I was working for AES in the Midwest, AES Applied Ecological Services, Minnesota, Wisconsin. Got the opportunity to come out here and work on this project. First impression is it's the biggest project that I've had the opportunity to work on. Unique, kind of a groundbreaking and maybe feather in the cap, type of a project. So it was pretty exciting, and exciting to sit here now, kind of almost on the other side of it.
So give our viewers an opportunity to understand what transpired then. Do we bring in a bunch of workers? What do you do? Take a look at all the land, determining what you can do and what you can't do, and what's going to be easy for you to do and what's going to be difficult?
Sure. Yeah, well, getting back to some of the things that Kyle referred to. So you're looking at a ratio of acreage replacement. So there was, some wetland that was not high functioning wetland that existed that was impacted, and so it's trying to mitigate for that. And when we say mitigate, we mean to recreate wetlands so that it basically restores that function to the area. So there's a lot of things that go into that. As far as site selection, I won't dive into the details of that now, but starting to look at those acreages and of course this property came up and the fit was there, but more specifically as far as labor, we've hired all local people. That's been really great, so it's gone really well. ESFers, SUNY Cobleskill, SUNY Brockport, a lot of folks from there getting involved. So
what would you say would be your total work staff as the process began?
I think we were running field crews in the range of 10 to 15 on an annual basis. The first 2 years were really heavy for the installation of the project. It's kind of like a farming operation if you think about it, with a different goal, different outcome. You're prepping the soils, you're planting the soils, and then weeding out what you don't want to grow. One of the stats I bring up a lot was we installed, I think, around 165,000 individual plants out there. So that takes a lot of effort and a lot of grit. So yeah, a lot of parallels to agriculture, but like I said, kind of different outcome, different goals.
I would assume with a project of this nature, there were probably sometimes you were scratching your head whether or not it was going to turn out the way you hoped it would. Maybe you had to reassess what you were doing as far as during the process.
Yeah, there's a monitoring program that comes with these, so everything's pretty programmatic, I would say, and our company's experience and my personal experience with doing this type of work, it takes a lot of patience. You need to know what to expect. So you're always kind of circling back with the maintenance and making sure things are tracking the way that you want them to.
Well, I think it's time now, as we about 9 minutes after the hour. Mark was nice enough to send me a short video about what we're talking about, and my buddy Jimmy, the owner, will put that up on the screen, and we'll show you a little bit of clip here, and you can come back and talk to Mark along with Kyle and Ben.
In 2007, Seneca Meadows began a special project, the creation of an 1,100-acre wetlands preserve, which is a testament to our resolve to go beyond regulatory requirements to protect and preserve the environment. Although regulations typically require the creation of 3 acres of wetlands for every one taken, the company decided to create 8 times the required wetlands, creating one of the largest wetland recreation complexes in the state. The wetlands complex took more than 3 years to develop. The $8 million project restored meadows and forested wetlands. Nearly 200,000 native plants, trees, and shrubs were planted. A team, including ecologists from Applied Ecological Services Incorporated, a private consultant, designed and constructed the preserve. The result is an exciting educational and recreational wetlands preserve, complete with 7 miles of hiking trails, open year-round.
It's exciting for me to think about future generations coming here 50 years from now and enjoying this beautiful ecosystem we've created.
What's fascinating is that only a few years ago the preserve was a cornfield. Now you have a lush and diverse native plant habitat that has become a popular hiking and birdwatching site. Through our special partnership with the Audubon Society, Seneca Meadows has ensured that this environmental treasure will be here for generations to come.
Once Seneca Meadows landfill is no longer in operation, Audubon will assume the care and management of this wetlands preserve, ensuring that this beautiful habitat retains its ecological vitality forever.
Okay, we're back, and interesting video, and I certainly think in a small capsule it kind of tells you an overview, Ben, of what you and the team did and will continue to work on. It's pretty amazing.
One of the cool
Yep.
factoids of that, not just with the plantings, but the majority of the seed for this project was handpicked by staff, and it actually took multiple years to pick enough pounds of seed to get these native seed mixes back in. So they basically had two people that did that 2 years prior to us even breaking ground there. So the planning, the effort, the foresight, and now we actually have people coming and picking seeds from our plants and moving that, pay it forward, as you would call it. So another great outcome of wetlands are a very important habitat that regenerate themselves.
What's amazing to me is, Kyle, you and me go back quite a while since you have been on the show several times, but your company's management back then, to ask them to, be a part of an $8 million project is not $8,000. It's a big expense, and obviously they agreed that this was something that Seneca Meadows wanted to do for the area and help out.
Yeah, this commitment was frankly an easy sell, because again, we're much more than just a landfill. We manage the environment in whole, just like with our pond systems and managing our stormwater and testing everything before it's off site. And wetlands are super important in filtering water. So we have the great water that gets into the Finger Lakes and into Montezuma and into all these places. So it was a huge financial commitment, but it was the right thing to do, and we always do the right thing.
And I think the comment made at the end on one of the gentlemen making the last few comments before we ended the tape was, Ben, the fact that when and if Seneca Meadows decides to leave as a landfill, and that is certainly up in the question in the sky, and that'll be determined, I'm sure, by Kyle and his team eventually. It isn't like it's, well, shop is over, so we're going to leave that thing and just ruin it. No, Audubon's going to take place and continue to oversee and review and keep an eye on it and make sure it's kept up the way it's been.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's kind of the formula for success when you start thinking about large tracts of land and stewarding the land. So this is a great collaboration, really. When our management, AES's management of this property is done, or at least minimized, I hope to stay involved at some level, Audubon will assume stewardship. So it just gets handed off, and they will, they're set up to do that and receive these types of properties and continue to maintain them. And then there's great public engagement parts of that. And important in that as well is the endowment fund. So there's also an endowment fund from SMI that's in place to help fund management. So they're not just receiving the property.
And my friend Mark Benjamin's along. Of course, Mark oversees the communications and the outreach for many, many causes, and helps out tremendously with the approval of the management. And Mark, as you go around and meet groups of people and support different organizations, thanks to Seneca Meadows' leadership, is this a topic that is sometimes discussed with you, by you, or to other people, and do people comment regarding it?
Thanks, Harold. Great to be back. Yeah, absolutely. It's an ongoing topic of conversation. For one, we work closely with the local Ducks Unlimited groups, and they're constantly looking at ways when they can utilize our resources there and get their youth activities over there, and they use that as an asset on an ongoing basis. The other thing is we have folks come to us all the time and say, "Hey, you've got all those trails out there. What, can we have a run?" And we'll do a 5K run or a 10K run. And then, the list goes on and on. We've had some other groups that want to take veterans out there and do a lunch, just so some folks that may be homebound can get outside and get some fresh air.
Very nice.
And so it's just been a huge community asset, and we look forward to seeing that continue into the future.
I'm sure you do. Well, listen, it's 15 after the hour. We have some great guests with us today. Ben Zimmerman, Branch Manager of Applied Ecological Services. along with Kyle Black and along with my buddy Mark Benjamin. This is the Weber Show. Let's take our commercial break, pay some homage to the great people that make this show possible. Del Lago Resort and Casino has something for everyone. 2,000 slot machines, 99 gaming tables, The Vine featuring top national music and comedy acts, the dining options, the Great Portico by Fabio Viviani, the Farmers Market Buffet, the Social Cafe and Bar, and the 14,000 square foot European-style spa. Del Lago offers massages, body treatments, and facials, plus a full-service salon. Visit DelLagoResort.com for more information. Cayuga Lake National Bank, offices in Union Springs and Aurora, a fine sponsor of mine for over 35 years. Great staffing at Cayuga Lake National Bank. Check them out. DA's Liquor on Bridge Street in Seneca Falls. Amy Padula and her team will find the right spirit for you every time. When you stop in, tell Amy the dog sent you. By the way, the Padula family has been a sponsor of mine for 33 years. Bostrom Farms is a butcher shop focused on providing fresh local meat to the Finger Lakes region. The retail store is located on routes 5 and 20 in Stanley. They offer a full range of pork, beef, and chicken products that you can feel real good about. Buying food for your family should be fun. At Bostrom Farms, we put the fun and trust back into buying meat. The McGee Diner, located off New York State Thruway, exit 41. The McGee Diner has earned their reputation as a popular family restaurant, serving country fresh home-cooked meals daily. Stop in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner and check out their menu at McGeeDiner.com. And I thank Gary and Kathy Schlegel for their fine support of Weber This Week. Seneca Meadows is an award-winning company that has earned a reputation of going above and beyond to protect the environment and support their community. As an EPA inspector once said, their operation is head and shoulders above the rest. The Child Advocacy Center of the Finger Lakes is a child-friendly location where allegations of physical or sexual abuse are responded to by a multidisciplinary team of professionals. The team works together to conduct a thorough investigation and to provide necessary support services to children and their non-offending caregivers with a goal of minimizing further trauma to a child. The Newark Pilots are the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, a minor league team with a major league ballpark. Season ticket packages available at NewarkPilots.com. The Omen Theater on William Street in Lyons. See what's playing this week at theomentheater.com, a fine sponsor of Weber This Week. The Wilson Press in Seneca Falls. My good pal Rich Rickey and his team can handle all of your printing and mailing needs. Visit them online at wpress.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having a good Monday. Today on the show, we're talking about amazing work that's being done out there at Seneca Meadows doing the preservation project that began in 2007. Ben Zimmerman's along with me as branch manager of Applied Ecological Services. Their main headquarters are in Wisconsin. He works up on 414. His office is there, along with Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin. Before we get back to the gentleman, I want to run a couple of things by you first before I forget them. Speaking of Seneca Meadows, they always are kind enough to send me their information about upcoming events. They do so many great events out there. One's coming up this coming Saturday, March 30th. That's 11 a.m. to noon. It'll be at the Seneca Meadows Educational Center. That's at 1977 State Route 414 in Seneca Falls. Make your backyard magical by planting flowers that attract various species of butterflies. We'll get you started with planters in this hands-on workshop. It's a free program. It is a family program as well. And let's not forget about a celebration that really I hope that people will show up and benefit and be a part of it. spring celebration to benefit the Pathway Home. Of course, there's a lot of great causes, trust me, and I know Kyle and Mark and Ben certainly can probably run off 15 or 20 like I can in our heads, but they got a spring celebration for the Pathway Home, and these folks that do this work at the Pathway Home do such a phenomenal job in the time of need when, people are really suspectively not going to be around that much longer. And these folks, these Pathway Homes, and not just Pathway, but anything that in the Finger Lakes region that does this type of work, I take my hat off for them. They're having a benefit on April 11th. That's Thursday, April 11th, 6 to 8. It's going to be at the Seneca Falls Country Club. That's 2790 State Route 89, Seneca Falls. Music's going to be provided by the Lipker sisters. There's going to be basket raffles, appetizers, and a cash bar. It's $30 a piece. For tickets, available at Cicino's in Waterloo. Sal has been a big supporter of this for many years. North Street Pharmacy in Geneva. And, of course, the Pathway Home board members. If you'd like a ticket or tickets, please contact 315-257-0307. Myself and Mary have got tickets. We're looking forward to being there. We hope that you will take part in joining us as well. It's for a superb cause. I mean, it's not much. I think, with all due respect, you can't think of anything people are dedicated, in a time of need and with the family situation. So we're back talking to Ben along with Kyle and Mark. And, we talked a little bit about, before we went on a commercial break, you were talking water quality and talking about functionality. Why don't you pick up on some of those areas too, Ben?
Sure. Yeah, to kind of pick up on one of the items Kyle was discussing.
Right.
When you think about wetlands and just the natural environment provides services. And it's not just habitat for wildlife, it's also for humanity. So, there are these functions of wetlands. So part of our monitoring program, you were asking how do we determine if things are coming in the way they should, is to monitor all different aspects of this project, ultimately with the intent of making sure that it's functioning the way that we want to. So it's benefiting people, animals. So specifically, you could get into water quality and air and carbon sequestration, the wildlife habitat, just general biodiversity, a number of things. So just thinking about that monitoring, part of the monitoring is for birds, and we talked about Audubon already. So the Seneca Meadows Wetland Preserve is now an important bird area, which is a designation given by Audubon New York, and it's a program intended to protect the most valuable bird habitats in the state. So it's not an award, but it's a great testament to the value of this site. So I've got some stats that are kind of interesting. I'll run through them real quick, but just to kind of give you the magnitude of the change on the site. So we did a baseline survey in 2007 for birds. 78 bird species were observed. So it's cornfield, maybe hay, some different agricultural uses. Post-restoration bird surveys, we've cataloged 226 species to date and counting. 2 of those are endangered species, 5 New York State and threatened, 8 are New York State special concern, and then 35 greatest conservation need. So all of these species that are in decline, in need of habitat, are utilizing the site, which is amazing. So you think about that and what changed. It was a major land use shift. You had it in row crop agriculture maybe being grazed, and then it's a shift to native plants, highly diverse, mixed vegetation, limited disturbance, that type of an environment. So and going from there, native plants, that's a big focus of what Applied Ecological Services does, and it was a big part of this project. There was significant effort put in to collecting the seed and developing these seed mixes that were to be installed that will ultimately determine the structure and function of this property. So, why native plants? They're edible to native insects, and then insects are edible to birds and other animals, and it's the base of the food web. So that's native plants. I'm a native plant nerd. That's where I come from. So, and then you can get into habitat structure. That really gets into the details of the design of this project and the different plant community types and the different animals that are going to be using those.
You personally got to feel pretty good as part of the project, overseeing it, involved in it. You got to feel pretty good about. It's never completed, but it's working very well, and you got to say, boy, it's really good for the area. It's good for what we're trying to achieve here and what Seneca Meadows has done to begin the process in 2007. So you personally and the team that is out there has got to feel pretty much satisfied the way they do it.
Yeah, definitely say so. Yeah, it's a very gratifying work in general.
What I mean.
This project specifically, absolutely. And a big part of it is, working with Seneca Meadows on this project. We were able to do the things the way they were supposed to be done in the timeline. There weren't corners cut, that type of thing, which is refreshing and very helpful from our perspective. So.
And Kyle, we go back to the fact that your company has done a lot of good things for the area, and it's got to make you feel good overseeing the operation, knowing full well when you took over that things of this nature are going to be continually worked on and continually be representative of what you started way back in 2007 and got the management to agree to pay that kind of money, and which, by the way, you said is a great investment, and I totally agree with you. But it's got to be self-satisfying for you and all the employees out at Seneca Meadows, along with Mark and everybody else.
Yeah, it's all about the team, right? And our team lives here. We eat here. We sleep here. That's what's really gratifying about being able to turn 576 acres of cropland back into this wonderful, one-of-a-kind project that at its time was the biggest project in the Northeast. As Ben said, it's one of those crown jewels, once-in-a-lifetime things that you just don't see. And to be part of that and have our team be able to be part of it and continue that legacy, knowing that that's going to be there in perpetuity, and that we've set up a fund and partnered with Audubon, and Audubon's going to be able to take this project to that home base and continue it and just build on the great habitat in this whole Finger Lakes area that we have. That's why we all know how important Montezuma is to the birds. This adds to that crown jewel.
Well, great job. And as we close down on our show, before we talk a little bit about the Sweet 16, got to talk a little basketball before we shut in the show. It's a big deal. It's March, it's March Madness. Ben, I want to thank you very much for coming in. And anytime you want to come back and talk about this project or another project you're working on, feel free to you gave me my card. We'll have you back on.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Kyle, as usual, and Mark, as usual. Thank you guys for coming in. But we're not going to leave without talking a little bit about basketball. So hang in there, because I know you guys follow the game, and we were just talking about. I know Jimmy Seneca was not happy. I understand he had to replace 2 windows of his house because when Superman Zion Williamson missed that free throw, Jimmy's not a big Duke fan, you can tell. I am sure that he had $1,000 down that Duke was going to lose. But you know what? Things have a reason for happening. I don't know why, but that Paytel, 7'6" guy, it's amazing. Well, he's a big, tall guy, man. Mary wouldn't do very well standing up next to him, 7'6". And I am convinced if he hadn't fouled out, folks, I think Mr. Paytall at 7'6" would have got that rebound on the missed free throw by Superman, as I call him, Zion Williamson. Jimmy's not making any comments because I'm sure he's still infuriated about the fact they pulled it out. And that last 7.9 seconds, could you believe that was first shot up I thought was in, and then the tip I thought was definitely going in, and it didn't go in. Duke survives. So let's quickly run down the 16, and I'll give you quick odds on this. Of course, coming up Thursday, you got 4 games. Virginia, 8-point favorite against Oregon. Gonzaga, 6-8. These are Las Vegas lines, obviously. Pretty soon we'll be having it at Del Lago because sports betting will be opening up soon, trust me, as soon as the public comment is over. Gonzaga, 6.5-point favorite against Florida State. Michigan, 2-point favorite versus Texas Tech. These are Thursday games. I don't know the times yet. They'll determine them later in the week. And Tennessee is a 1-point favorite over Purdue. Those are the Thursday night games, or Thursday day games. Now, they start later in the night. You're right, so they're later on. On Friday, Michigan State's a 6.5-point favorite against LSU. Duke is an 8-point favorite against Virginia Tech. Now, keep in mind, I know you Virginia Tech fans are happy because you remember beating Duke, but you beat him without Superman. He's back. Zion is back, so I don't see that happening. Duke, an 8-point favorite over Virginia Tech. Kentucky, 2.5 against a tough Houston team. Kentucky favored by 2.5. And North Carolina, a lot of people like them. North Carolina, 5.5 point favorite versus Auburn. Those games will start, I believe, around 5, 6 o'clock on Thursday. And there's 4 games across the country. So it should be interesting. And I don't know, Kyle, you said you watched some of it. It was pretty exciting. I must admit, March Madness has a way of doing it. But by the way, just so you know, and I think maybe Jimmy already knows this, first time since they went to 64 teams in the brackets, that when the 32 teams went to 16, every favorite won, which is the first time. Every favorite won. Now remember, when I say favorite, the favorite won. They didn't cover. That's the difference. The betting line, they didn't cover. Like Duke was a 13.5 point favorite by Vegas odds makers over UCF, and they won by 1 point. But they were the favorite. So that's the first time it's happened in NCAA bracket history since they started going to this expanded version. Well, there's a lot of great basketball coming up, and certainly we've opened up my eyes relative to what has taken place here today. I certainly admire the fact that Seneca Meadows has invested and the Wetlands Project, and Ben, you and your team have done a masterful job, and congratulations and continued success. And again, we'd love to have you come back sometime if you have something else to talk about relative to a different project or another one involving Seneca Meadows. So thanks again.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ben Zimmerman, along with Kyle Black and Mark Benjamin, my special guest today. Folks, you have a great day. Everybody enjoy the week. Next week, we're expecting to have Jimmer McCormick, the Vice President of Security at Del Lago. You wonder whether all those maroon jackets are walking around the casino? He's in charge of them all. Welcome. Take care, buddy. This is the dog saying good night. Irene, have a good week.